Okay, this is a dynamic warm-up with a focus on the ankles, hips, the joints of the shoulders, and the neck. The first warm-up that we're going to be doing here is the dorsiflexion of the ankle, which means basically bringing your toes up towards your shin. This is a warm-up for the ankle, particularly also for the muscles of the front of the shin, such as the anterior tibialis. And we're doing about 20 reps of each of these exercises. This is just a very rudimentary warm-up for you to follow along with. We're going to be doing the opposite here, plantar flexion, which is essentially a calf raise, removing the tops of the foot away from the shin. Again, I'm doing about 20 reps here. And this is just to get blood flowing to all of the muscles and joints of the body, particularly the ones that we're focusing on here. But if you anytime you're doing a specific exercise, let's say you're doing squats in the gym on a particular day, you may want to spend some extra time warming up, for example, your knees. And you may also want to do this particularly by doing warm-up sets with the squat exercise itself with a lighter weight. Okay, so don't take this as the only kind of warm-up you should do, but this is a good start to get your heart pumping and the blood flowing to all the joints and muscles of your body. This is a front leg swing, seen from the front view. Notice that my hand is essentially stopping my leg, not really. I'm basically slapping the top of my thigh with my hand. The reason why I do this is it's kind of a comfort thing, but I believe that there is some psychological aspect to this in which your leg will actually flex a little bit further if your hand is there to stop it, sort of a comfort thing. So it is something that I recommend if you don't have something specific to kick. Then in that case you could use your hand to stop yourself. So now this is a little bit far from the camera, but what we're doing here is the reverse, the back leg swing. And this is just like the front leg swing, it's going to help warm up your hips, but in this case it's also going to be stretching the front of the muscles of the front of the hip, okay, your hip flexors. This is a critical one, and I recommend that a lot of athletes spend extra time doing exercises that stretch the front of the hips, like this one right here. That's a different angle, the opposite leg, same maneuver. So in this one, not only am I bringing the thigh back, but I'm also bending at the knee, as you can see. So I'm kind of kicking upwards with my heel as well. Okay, both of those aspects are critical. You want to make sure that you're not getting this range of motion. You can see that the range of motion here is actually pretty limited, and you want to make sure that you're not getting the range of motion here from your spine. So you don't want to end this motion with a big arch in your back. You want to keep your back essentially in one spot and have just your hips doing the stretching. Now we have the side leg swing. This one is going to work mostly, or stretch mostly the muscles of the inner thigh. But you can see that I'm kind of coming back. I'm doing an inward swing as well. It's very difficult to do dynamically to stretch the inside, but I do like to come in a little bit. And again, from a different angle here. Now you see on, except for the front leg swings, you see on the back and side leg swings that I'm actually perched up against the tree here. It is good to find a wall or something to balance yourself. While balance training might be important for certain endeavors, in terms of dynamic stretching, you're working on flexibility. So you don't want to try to spend your time balancing because that's really going to take away from your flexibility. So use a balance, something to aid in balance, so that your flexibility can really be what you're developing. Now this one might look a little funny. This is I'm doing scapular protraction and retraction here. Okay, so notice I'm mostly keeping my arms straight. I do kind of bend it a little bit. That's another issue of preference, but you can just keep your arms totally straight throughout it. And what I'm doing is I'm squeezing my scapula together here, and then I'm pushing my scapula apart as I push. So this is to warm up the scapula, okay, which is the anatomical term for your shoulder blades. And here's another shoulder blade warm up. This is just, looks like shrugging your shoulders, which is what it is. This is scapular elevation and depression. So notice here that just like in the last exercise of retraction and protraction, I was going actually in both directions, and here I am too. It can be kind of hard to tell, but I'm not just squeezing upward. I'm also pushing downward, which is kind of emphasized here towards the end with kind of why I opened up my hands. Try to think of it like you're pushing your palms down towards the floor. Now here we have some lateral arm swings. Pretty self-explanatory. I am going in both directions. You see I alternate which arm is up top, and I also alternate high and low with my arms as I go out. But I am reaching in both directions, so not just on the out and back, but also on the in. Kind of what you want to think here is you're trying to reach your fingers away from the shoulder that they're coming from. And here we have the overhead arm swings. Notice here my arms, or my hands at the bottom, are in the open position, facing forward. My palms are facing forward. That's not critical here, but I like that as a touch for this movement. You can do it both ways, but I recommend spending at least some of your time with the overhead arm swings with your palms facing forward, both in the top position and also in the bottom position. That will really help to open up the muscles in the front of your body, okay, that tend to get very tight in a lot of athletes. And then lastly, we're going to have a couple moves here for the neck, just to get the neck moving. First is side to side. I'll do 20 reps here on each side. And as I go, I'm not just looking in each direction, although that would be, maybe somewhat effective. At the end of each range of motion here, I'm actually actively turning pretty hard towards the end. Okay, you obviously don't do anything to hurt yourself, but engage the muscles. And then after this one is the up and down. Okay, so I'm just looking up and looking down. Again, pretty simple. I am stretching in both directions, though. A couple keys here. When you're looking up, think of it as you're essentially thrusting your chin towards the sky. Okay, you want to stand tall. You don't want your head to just collapse backwards. You want to basically be pushing your chin towards the sky. And then when looking down, think of it. This one could be one of the harder movements to do. You want to push the base of your neck, where your skull and your spine meet, backwards towards the tree in this video as you look down. So notice the top of my head's not coming all the way down. And that's it.